Hey guys, it's Ryann Mark, and we are here with Face It, The Reasons Why You Should Fib podcast. We're so excited to have our amazing friends on our podcast today, Jen and Rob. And so we're going to get started with their story and talk about all the things aesthetic laser wellness and, a little bit about their business as well. We are entrepreneurs at heart, all of us together, and, husband and wife teams, which is sometimes is amazing, but has also its challenges.
Sure. Yes.
And growing businesses. We kind of started together. They kind of started before us, but just over the past 8 years since we met, it's kind of cool to see our businesses grow together and just have so much success and investment to our team members and just the entrepreneurship. So let's get started.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you guys. Thanks for joining us this morning. Why don't we get started by, if you guys don't mind, just tell us a little bit about how Fort Myers Brewing Company got started, a little bit about the journey and how we got to where we are today.
Fort Myers Brewing, we opened Fort Myers Brewing in 2013. I got introduced to home brewing from my husband. We were newly married, living in San Diego, and I had taken a job back in Michigan. And so I was traveling excessively, and I came home to a hose out our front door, connected to the sink, all these glass containers all over the place. The fridge was emptied out of anything food related and was stacked with kegs. And I looked at him and I said, "What the heck is going on?" And he said, I took up home brewing. I needed a hobby. It could be worse. And that was in 2004. He had, prior to my time, he had homebrewed in college in the 90s. Not college?
Before college.
Before college. Okay.
Me and my buddies figured out that you could go to the homebrew shop and buy everything to make alcohol without having to be 21.
Oh.
So we were 18, 19 years old and making beer, terrible beer, but strong.
Still beer.
Yeah.
It had the right effect, right?
That was our goal, was to make as much alcohol in it as possible. So, yeah.
But you hung that up once you became 21.
Once I turned 21, it was no reason to make terrible beer anymore. We could go out and buy.
Now, did your friends get wind of this and start drinking it as well?
Oh, yeah. People would come over to our places all the time because we had, 15, 20 gallons of beer sitting there.
And at that point, people probably told you that your beer was great.
No, it was terrible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was no, the technology back then, they didn't have all these yeast strains and it was just different.
Yeah.
So unless you were a large commercial brewery, you were using this yeast that was not the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've taken a tour of the facility now, and it's super impressive. I'm just in awe every time we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So 2004 was when I got introduced to homebrewing. We had been asked if we wanted to invest in a microbrewery in San Diego. Rob came home and there were two partners at the time, and he said we would be a third equal partner, and it was a $50,000 investment. And I looked at him and I said, $50,000, that's really expensive for a hobby. And that was the end of the conversation, at least from my perspective. What I didn't know is that he was still thinking about how we could do this on our own. And when we ended up in Fort Myers, there was a little industrial, we lived in Gateway, a little industrial park down the way. And when we were looking at homes, we both eyed that and thought, oh, that would be a cool place for a brewery. And we didn't think that microbreweries, the way that we knew them, were possible in Florida, partly because we thought, why hasn't someone already done this?
Sure.
Well, and there was bad information out there. So the information you could find on the internet, it was not good information. And it was basically saying you couldn't have a tap room with your brewery.
Yeah.
And that was incorrect.
Yeah. And the day that Rob found that there was a brewery with a tap room on the other coast of Florida, he was in his home office and came running out to me. He said, I found one. It was a Sunday. It was probably 10 a.m. We were in the car by 10:30 driving across the state to see that this was real. And I want to say 8 to 10 months later, we were open.
Wow.
It was pretty.
It's probably more than that, but
It was quick.
yeah, it took us 250 days to get our license. So
Talk about a passion. You guys were You knew what you wanted to do. Yeah.
Well, and we, moving here from San Diego, we didn't know people here. We both worked from home. So our goal with the brewery was to make friends. We really, at least I didn't see this becoming our full-time jobs. We both kept our day jobs. Rob kept his for almost exactly a year. I kept mine for a little bit longer. And our tap room was open Friday and Saturday. And
we ran a bar. It was open on Saturday from like noon to 7.
Noon till 6. Those were our hours.
And Friday,
probably
3 to 7 or something.
Yeah.
A bar. Like,
we
clearly had no idea.
I was going to say, going into this, you had no idea how to run a small business.
Correct.
We had no idea how to run a small business.
Or did you even know you had a small business at the time?
I don't think I even looked at it like that.
Yeah.
Our original tagline was Hobby Gone Wild.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was, we opened a bar, and on Saturdays we closed at 6 p.m. I'm looking for the right word here without making us sound good, but just insane closing a bar at 6 p.m. But it works.
Listen, we are early birders here, right? So we're Southwest Florida.
True. And so our plan was tap room open Friday, Saturday, brew on Sunday, and then we'd work our day jobs during the week. And looking back, thankfully, that business plan didn't work out because it was a clear path to burnout. You can't work 7 days a week. And we definitely needed to be open more days and brew more product and sell more product in order to hire folks. Thankfully, that part of the business plan we exceeded excessively very quickly.
But you guys are, and I know you know this, but I don't know if you understand the impact you've had, pioneers in Florida and legislation and just changing the opportunities for a lot of the breweries in Florida
Sure.
because we didn't see this. So talk a little bit about that.
We were the first in Lee County.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of breweries, when they open, they hire like professionals and consultants and attorneys. We did none of that. We did it all ourselves. So we had to modify the zoning for our building. And when we met with the zoning administrator, they were like, I'm sorry, you want to do what? You want to put a bar in an industrial park?
In the back of an
industrial park? And they were just like, never heard of such thing.
They looked at us like we were crazy.
So I said to her, have you ever been to a winery? And it's, like a metal building and they grow the grapes and you go in this little metal building and she's like, oh, okay. And I forget, Nettie and Pam, they flipped through the zoning book and they said, you know what?
Book.
Yeah, they're these big, thick, and she's like, I think we can do this without a hearing.
Oh.
She said, I think I can do this administratively. So we got an administrative amendment on the zoning
Which is huge.
Saved us a ton of time. I don't think we weren't really close enough to the neighbors for them to even, in fact, I think we're out of the area, but still has to be a public hearing and all that normally for modifying zoning, but they did an administrative amendment and we were off and running.
Well, and the building that we opened in, we didn't know it when we signed the lease, but it was under foreclosure. And there were, I want to say there's 60 plus industrial condos in this complex. And I think 3 were occupied at the time. This was the first location that we looked at, and we looked all over town for 3-4 months. And Rob, especially, he kept coming back to this complex, this specific unit. And we got really lucky that there was space for us to grow into. But the complex now is very much sought after.
Yeah. I wonder why. So the initial square footage of the first lease, what was that?
1,536 square feet. And we actually opened with 3,000 square feet. So we leased one unit, 1,500 square feet. Our idea was to have people drink in the brewing area. And then the county said, you need to add a second bathroom and you can't have people in the brewing area. So to add a bathroom was like $15,000 and our rent was like $300. So it made way more sense to just rent another unit, combine them and go that way. So we then had a men and women's restaurant.
Yeah.
And now we have 24,000.
Think about that. Everything's just kind of grown and grown and grown. And we've been out there many times and Well, I'll tell you, on a Friday night, Saturday night, when you guys have an event, it is really, you get the band out there with the stage and you got the food trucks. I mean, it really is, it's a great place. You bring your chairs. I mean,
and the food trucks, when we opened, there were 2 food trucks in, I think, all of Southwest Florida.
Yeah.
We went out, we knew we wanted to partner with food trucks. There were 2 food trucks in the area. The Nash truck, he was out at the casino. He's doing this event. We walk up and introduce ourselves. We're like, we're going to open a brewery. We'd love to have you out. And I mean, he tells the story that he thought he'd never hear from us again. A few months later, we called him up. We would still be partnering with Scott today. His food truck was ruined by Hurricane Ian. So we had a long run truck, but we still partner with probably 40 to 50 different food trucks now. And that also tells you the growth of that industry.
Yeah.
And I think that we were a part
Instrument
of that.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. And now you have this big, because the last time we were there, you guys got the new system or the new bottling.
Canning.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Garbage on that.
So, I mean, all of our equipment's grown over the years. We started with, our brew system started as a 7-barrel makeshift brew system.
by the way, Rob has designed all this stuff, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Originally.
Yes.
Rob and my dad drove up to Louisiana, and we spent, I think it was $1,000
Maybe.
on these 2 used dairy tanks. That I think the U-Haul to get them back cost more than the equipment. And so Rob and my dad U-Hauled them back. My parents thought we were crazy at this time. I think I thought we were a little crazy as well. And so these dairy tanks ended up in our garage. Rob built the burner system that went underneath it. And I remember the day that we first fired it up. He'd told me all along that he knew exactly what he was doing. It's going to work this, and he's an engineer, so okay. Well, the day that he's going to fire it up, he looks at me, and I'm standing, 20 feet back or so.
How far you were from here to him away?
Okay, and he looked at me, and he's like, "You may want to step back a little bit." And then he
I don't know if this is going to work.
he had to put the welding helmet on just in case.
I need a picture of that.
He fired it up, and it worked, and it was that was the start of our brewing equipment. We quickly upgraded to a 4-vessel 10-barrel brew system that we thought would last us for decades. And 2 years after that, we upgraded to a 4-vessel 30-barrel brew system. And Rob wrote all of the software for that, for the brew house.
Incredible.
A couple years in, we invested in a canning line. The first canning line that we invested in, it filled 30 cans a minute.
30. Yeah.
30 cans a minute. And it was our introduction to canning. Again, we thought that would last us a long time. And in 2019, Rob said to me, "Come on, we're going out to the Craft Brewers Conference." We hadn't had plans to go out there. I want to say this was 3 days before it was starting. And I didn't know it at the time, but his intent was to find a new canning line because the quality of product that was coming out of newer canning lines was better than what we had. It's about oxygen and having less oxygen in the product in the can. And so we're wandering around the exhibit hall, and he's like, "I think we should buy this. It's a $500,000 canning line." And that was when we upgraded our canning line. And it came, we commissioned it in December of 2019, and then COVID hit. And in the moment, I thought, oh my gosh, we've got this. We had never taken out a loan on any of our equipment. And now we've got this loan on a $500,000 canning line. COVID's hitting, and oh my gosh, we're in trouble.
Sure.
That's super familiar.
Yeah,
In our
very
industry, the
familiar.
same thing.
I remember us texting.
Buying our
that.
second house.
Yeah. It turned out that canning line was the saving grace to COVID, because we could push out more product, different products in package that people could take home. And and that's what people wanted.
And you guys are in every grocery store. I mean, that's another part of your business, growing it. You guys have networked, and I mean, everywhere you go, it's like Fort Myers Brewing Companies. And so you had to meet the demand of that.
And the airport now?
Yeah. Yeah, the airport. We have a tap room in the airport that's run by HMS Host. So they leverage our name. We sell them beer, and we're the first. I think we're the first new business in what will be the new airport
terminal.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Fantastic. Real quick, I just gotta ask Rob, what was the first beer? Like, what was the first one that came off the line? What was the one that kind of grew you guys, that took you off? Was it the Gold?
No, I mean, the first beer that we brewed was supposed to be our red tape. But it was my first time brewing, going from homebrew scale to large scale. So it didn't come out as red tape. It came out dark. So it turned into what we called Tamiami Tan. It was a brown ale.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be red tape, turned into Tamiami Tan. And then I think it was probably Gold, Strong, Pale Ale. Those were our first.
Yeah, when we opened, we didn't have an IPA. We weren't sure the area was ready for an IPA yet. Gateway Blonde, formerly known as Gateway Gold, that beer was what first took off. That was our most popular, our first couple of years. But High Five is our IPA.
Hence the name of the.
Yes.
The boat, yeah.
Yes. We have some other projects that are also named High Five. High Five is what really put us on the map. And that was, that beer won awards before it had a name. And Rob would go around high-fiving everyone. After we won, it was named the best IPA in Florida. And so that was part of how it got named High Five. It's also 5.9% ABV, and I think it's 59 IBUs. So High Five has many meanings. But yeah. And now we have our newest hazy IPA, Mosaic Grouper. That beer.
Delicious.
I have one in my fridge.
It's currently my favorite beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's going to be our next High Five. And
I love the graphics on it too.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a person in house, Teresa. She did all of those herself, hand drew them. She's and I think that's part of both of our stories as well. Is we bring as much in-house as we can. I don't think either of us outsource very much. We outsource when we need to, and then as we're outsourcing, we're figuring out how to do it ourselves. So that's part of writing our own software, bringing in graphic designers, and from all angles. We're always looking to. We like to
do it ourselves.
Well, that's why we love you guys. You're so entrepreneurs in every fashion of the word, right? You guys started from really no idea what you were doing to where you are today, and growing this conglomerate of a brewery that you've expanded out to different things. And I think that's why we connect so well as well in the conversations that we have. So,
well, and expertise. I mean, listening to you speak, I'm just like, wow, because I'm a science geek too, and that's brewing, and then the engineering side, which our son's looking at. It's just cool that you apply all of. I mean, yeah, it's just a cool story. So, and we always share like how business ideas and entrepreneurship, and that's leading into women in business. And I grew up here, so I feel like I always have an obligation, to help the community. So that's a big part of your guys' heart too, and the changing and having a huge impact on our community locally.
Yeah.
As well as all over Florida, because I know you guys have helped other breweries get started. You get that phone call of, hey, we're not your direct competitor, but can you help us? So,
yes. Yeah, you've been to just about every local.
Well, and now, like our keg washer, the company that made the keg washer, they no longer make brewing equipment. So I've become the resident expert in software on this keg washer. But anybody in the U.S. has this keg washer, when it breaks, they usually post on some board. Somebody's like, oh, call Rob. So I become the
he'll be on a Zoom call with a brewer across the country, they'll be on the call. I mean, one of them, you were on a call for like 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
And I mean, he does this out of the goodness of his heart. There's no, we're not
I need to learn
charging.
how to charge these people, but I just
But
Well,
it's the
clearly
right,
there's a lot of success. So people are watching and
Yeah.
seeing what you guys are doing and
yeah.
want to in some way imitate and ask how you got there. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Yeah.
same in our industry. I train nationally for Allergan, national laser trainer. And yes, there is always people coming. This is part of our training center here. And it is an opportunity to help because you can help to elevate the industry even
Right.
by training
Right.
competition per se. But yeah,
Well, I think both of our industries, you want good work out there.
For sure.
If someone goes out and has a craft beer for the first time, doesn't matter what brewery it's from. If it's not good, they're probably not coming back to craft beer. They're going back to domestic
For sure.
or to a cocktail.
Yep.
If someone has a not so great experience with having something done, especially on their face, they're probably not doing that again.
everyone, yeah.
And it doesn't
sure.
matter if it's a Fort Myers Brewing beer. Doesn't matter if it's your work. It hurts all of us,
Sure.
and so that's part of the helping others in both of our industries. I mean, that is a part of why I assume both of us do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dive into how we met.
Yes.
And then your journey with us.
Yeah. So I met Ryan in 2017. I had started getting Botox and I was a fibber.
It's okay, Rob. It's okay.
And that goes back to the Face It, the reasons why you fib, because that's like, face it, I was turning 40 and we wanted to, there was a huge stigma. Face it, the reasons why you fib, there was a huge stigma back in 2015 when I started and then I met you. We were like, we got to keep this from husbands. And I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And Rob's shaking his head like that because there's a stigma out there of people looking weird.
Well, and it also, to his credit, he would say, Jen, you don't need this type of stuff, which is a beautiful thing to say to your wife.
It's the right thing to say, right?
Yes.
You look beautiful the way you are, honey.
And I'm like, oh yeah, but I'm already doing it. Sorry. It wasn't like, I wasn't fibbing maliciously.
Right.
But I was fibbing. And I mean, sometimes he would even drive me to the appointments and
It's a skin.
I was getting a B12 shot and I really would be getting a B12 shot.
You just happened to get a couple others.
Well, you're like, that took a little while. And I'm like, yeah, she was running behind.
When I was doing anesthesia, I started doing it at 37 because I worked for plastic surgeons and him and I fought about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I make my own money. I'll go spend it. He's like, but you don't need it. So every household goes through this.
Yes. Sorry, I love you. So that is how we met, and I started seeing you for other skin services when you opened your first brick and mortar, and our relationship has evolved from there. I do some laser treatments now. You can probably see how red, especially my chest is. That is something that we can treat with laser. I haven't had one in a while. I was supposed to do that yesterday, but I had to change that appointment.
The regular broadband light treatments, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, I like to take the redness out of my skin, or at least some of the redness out of my skin. And we also, one of our, I think, moments of connection was I was feeling terrible. We had known each other for at least a couple of years. You knew that I was active. And you could see that I wasn't active anymore. And you had asked me what was going on. And I told you a handful of things, high level. And you had said, you need blood work.
Right, because at 37, I started just testosterone replacement from a physician friend of mine that said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always say patients drive what we bring in.
Yeah.
And I was hearing this more and more, you know, and yeah, we were young, not thinking we needed it. I think that's where your story is like profound.
Yeah.
That I was like, let's do blood work because that's the first place.
Yep.
You're like, well, every doctor's told me I'm normal.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
every doctor told her she's too young.
Too young.
Too young.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but your labs are normal. You're fine.
You did blood work and it came back there. You had told me that my testosterone was low, but I looked at it and it was in range for what I think you used Quest at the time, what Quest said. And so I was kind of like, well, you're telling me it's low, but it's not low. But also on there, you had run a thyroid panel and my TPO antibodies were through the roof, which indicates Hashimoto's. And I had asked so many doctors. I knew that there was something wrong with my thyroid. My dad my dad's hypothyroid. My brother had thyroid issues. I knew something was wrong with my thyroid, and the doctors were like, "No, your they would run TSH. It's normal. It's normal." Well, when the Hashimoto's came back, I started digging, and I was like, "Okay, there's optimal and there's normal." And you say that to a MD who works with insurance companies. I think that's one of the keys is they're following what the insurance companies will allow them to do. But you say, you know, I see that I'm in the normal range, but I'm at the high end of the normal range and optimal is here. And you can just see it in their faces. Like, stop Googling, stop.
Dr. Google. Yes.
But yet I had all the symptoms of being hypothyroid. And then you add the Hashimoto's on it. And I clearly needed to be treated. And you had connected me with a doctor that then ran more panels and showed that I had high autoimmune markers, which I'm still not diagnosed, which I'm actually glad about. And physicians have said that, you know, you treat the first line of defense with autoimmune diseases is the same regardless of what autoimmune.
And we're seeing so much of that. I mean, our panel is really like more of a functional medicine panel. And that's where my training with the hormones and just overall health. My first medical director, Dr. Pinkel, was a functional medicine doctor. So I learned a ton from him and he was a thyroid expert. So that's where I do love our BioT. You know, they're nationally, there's thousands of studies that have been done. And so, yes, we find things all the time. Unfortunately, I mean, we ran your free T3, free T4. I see, you know, lab panels from just primary care physicians. They don't run that stuff. No. So that's really like the circulating free hormones and it's all the endocrine system. It all works together.
Yes.
And you were definitely off. So
yes.
What were you feeling like?
I was gaining weight, no matter what.
And you were, how old were you when this all started? In late 30s, right?
I was in my late 30s.
Me too.
I remember going to a gynecologist. It was soon after my brother had passed away. My brother had a very rare cancer, very traumatic experience. And I'm going to come back to some of this with how I felt as my hormones were completely depleted. But for this part of the discussion, he had recently passed away. I was feeling terrible. I knew part of it was because of what had just occurred. Sure. Yes. But I also felt like there was more to it. So I went to a local gynecologist and I had said, you know, could I be starting this perimenopause process? And at that point, that was probably the first time I'd ever heard that word. Found it via Google, and she had said, "Oh, you're definitely too young. Run your blood work on day 3 of your period." And I went back, and she was like, "Yeah, you're too young, and you're normal."
Well, and so there was a women's initiative study that was published 25 years ago that we talked about, and I said, "You're going to go to every doctor, and they're going to tell you, you know, hormones cause cancer." And all of this has now been debunked and the FDA finally has approved, you know, hormone replacement and is backing that because of this reason. Women are suffering and we see it every day. So that's unfortunate, you know, medical training kind of pushed that on doctors that it causes blood clots, it causes cancer. And so you weren't getting what you needed.
Yes. And really the hormones are protective.
Mm-hmm. Breast, brain, bone protective, cardio protective, heart disease, bone health. I mean, you name it. And depression. I mean, we see anxiety and depression, and once their hormones are homeostasis and balance, patients come back and they're like a new you. It's like a overall sense of well-being.
Yes.
And it gives you power.
Yes.
To conquer the world because you don't feel like crap.
Yes.
Because I remember you saying how tired you were.
Yes.
And libido. I mean, that's a thing at late 40s. A lot of women start losing their libido.
Yeah.
And that puts strain on relationships. And let's put it out there. It does. I mean, guys get Cialis and they get all of this stuff prescribed to them, but women do not. Yeah. And that's where we were like, that's where I love to empower patients to understand. Maybe the book, read it, the testosterone book, Dr. Donovitz, he's a cardiologist who started BioT. Yeah. So, yeah.
So that trip to my doctor was in 2016. Mm-hmm. So that was actually before we met, that I knew something was off. But a doctor tells you that you're normal and you start to think, well, maybe I just need to diet more, and maybe I need to set my alarm for 5 a.m. to go work out and get up, even though I haven't slept all night.
And huge prescription on anti-anxiety, antidepressants, which is not what you need. They're not treating. I mean, maybe sometimes, but not if you balance your hormones. It's
right. The number of times that doctors tried to push antidepressants on me, especially because of because of my brother passing. And I was unbelievably resistant to that. I went on them at one point, and I should have never been on them. The only time, when my hormones completely bottomed out, it was early 2024. Rob was already on testosterone therapy, so he was feeling excellent.
Great.
And I was...
We'll get into that.
I was at my absolute worst. And the physical, I didn't realize that I was having near constant hot flashes, but I was. The exhaustion, the waking up in the middle of the night, all of that is definitely part of it. And that's what most people talk about. But the mental health, I was constantly anxious about everything. We would be driving. We were driving to the brewery. First of all, I wouldn't drive anywhere. I didn't want to be alone. And it wasn't even just alone. If he wasn't with me, I was freaking out. I was, we were driving to the brewery and I saw a sign that construction was coming on Daniels. And I went, oh my God, our business is in trouble. No one's going to come because no one's going to drive through this construction. And that spiral, I mean, we have a booming business to, we're going to be on the streets.
And I remember you coming in and I was like, hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you had, again, seen a doctor that was just skeptical of it and it didn't give you, really the encouragement to do it. But I was like, hormones.
Yeah. I wouldn't let us spend any money.
She was being so irrational. It was insane.
And what was your perception? I mean, you had been on hormones. Were you like, this could be, or could it be
I had no idea what was going on with her. I had no clue. But I think I said to her, you need to go to the doctor and figure out what's going on, or I need to find a new place to live. She was so irrational and so like she thought something minor would happen. She would just spiral out of control.
And here you are, this, an amazing business partnership. You have all these employees, to manage. And I'm sure the anxiety had to be even worse with that.
I remember you saying to me, you're always so rational and data driven, and where did that go? I was taking I wasn't sleeping at all. That anxiety was through the roof at night. And I was taking these unbelievable deep breaths, and he would look at me and he would say, "You've got to stop. I don't know what to do, but I can't hear you breathe like that."
2 o'clock in the morning, she's like,
and
I'm like,
And you're thinking,
I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah.
What did you just think of? Like,
Yeah.
she just thought of something else in her brain that didn't
And
make
so
sense.
you weren't sleeping. And so that's compounding it,
yes, I was on a real spiral.
which a little bit of progesterone would have helped.
Yeah.
She loves
She was
progesterone.
being so irrational. Like she literally, we were eating ramen and peanut butter on bread.
Wow.
We couldn't buy anything. We couldn't spend any money.
how was that flavor, by the way? Was that good?
Well, not ramen and peanut butter together.
We set up a meeting with the head of our bank, the president of the bank, and
Who's a friend?
A friend of ours. And we went in there, and he had all of our files. He has all of our money in his bank, and she laid it all out. Like, I think this is going to happen because of this, and this. And he's looking at her, and he's like, "Jana, I have your income. I have your expenses. I know your loans. I know." He said, "You could roll your doors down today. Walk in, roll your doors down, not do any more work, and you're going to survive for over a year." Like, I have it right here. And she's like, "Yeah, but what about this? What about," like, she was just not hearing anything anybody was saying at all.
He looked at, he said, "Is there something that I don't know?" And I said, "No." And this was another, and he knows me as a rational, business owner.
Yeah.
And he was wondering what was going on. And as we left,
He took us down the elevator. Jen said, "I have to use the restroom." She walked around the corner. He turned to me and he said, "What's going on? What is happening?"
Without her there.
Without her there.
he was worried about me as a person, not.
He was just like, what is happening? And I said, "Joe, I have no idea. I don't know what's going on, but she's not being rational at all." He's like, "Yeah."
He called, we were in the car. So probably 10 minutes after we left, he called and he said, we're going to dinner tomorrow. I'm taking you guys to dinner. He said, "It's my treat," because he knew I wouldn't pay for it.
Jen's not going to spend any money.
Yeah.
He took us to dinner. It was a nice night out. But he was concerned about my well-being at that point. And now we joke. He in that meeting, he was like, "I think you can add a little jelly to your peanut butter." And so now now that I'm on hormones and I'm not anxious all the time, I joke with him. I'm like, "Well, I'm adding the jelly."
So how far along was it until you started hormone replacement?
It was, at that point, it was probably 2-ish months. And along with the anxiety, this was the first time I was ever depressed. So I go back to, my brother's passing, and I was obviously incredibly sad and I was grieving. But I don't think I was ever actually depressed. Now that I know what depression feels like, when my estrogen bottomed out, and my estrogen, when it finally was tested, it was 0.
Yeah.
I was very depressed.
And when we talked, we were doing hormone replacement pellet only at the time, because they're, the bioidentical, I'm a fan of that, versus synthetic. And we wanted to tread lightly. So you started doing the injections of testosterone and estrogen patches.
I started with just estrogen.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
So I started with the estrogen patch, and my different doctor than who I saw in 2017. When I went in, I had already had the blood work done, and it showed my estrogen. On Quest, it said less than 5. Mm-hmm. My FSH was like 223 or something like that. And there were red flags on the Quest report. He called me the day the results came back and had me come in that day. And he put an estrogen patch on me in office. And while we were sitting there, I felt like he had to convince me to go on hormones. And at that point I knew, I actually looked at him and I said, "You don't have to convince me to do this. You've done the research. I want all of it." And he said, "Well, okay, let's start with estrogen." But he's an older male gynecologist. And he, while he's slapping the estrogen patch on me, he's also handing me this book that he wrote years ago, debunking the Women's Health Initiative. So he had been, all along, he was prescribing hormones for women, but he had to talk them into it because of this Women's Health Initiative.
Let's go back to Jen's patch. Within 24 hours, Jen went from this psycho back to normal.
I would have
Mental
been,
state.
It
Yeah.
was unbelievable.
Wow.
I would have been 30 years ago, maybe even not that long ago, I would have been institutionalized. That is,
Think about what you're saying right now and how he just said within 24 hours.
Yep.
He's like, I got my Jen back.
It was crazy.
Yes.
And we see that all the time.
It was crazy.
And that was when I realized that I was having near constant hot flashes. So probably about 2 months before the hormone blood work, I had went to the same doctor, and I had said, I have extreme anxiety. And I said, and every time I get anxious, I get hot. And I remember him looking up at me, and I think he asked me how old I was. And he looked back down, and then there wasn't any talk of hormones at that point, but there should have been. My age probably, I was still early 40s.
And we talk about this too, with that women's initiative studies. Unfortunately, in medical schools, they do not talk about hormones. They are taught that they cause cancer. They taught that, blood clots. Well, we're living a lot longer. And women, it's really the age, approaching 40s when we start seeing these symptoms.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation we have in the rooms all the time for many stories like yours, and some people are very symptomatic and some people blow through menopause like nothing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the breast, brain, bone protective, they did a twin study.
Yeah.
And so the one twin got, the bioidentical hormones and the other one did not. Well, 15 years later, the one had heart disease. She was diabetic. She had osteoporosis and, anxiety.
Yeah.
And the other twin did not. So these studies that are done through BioT and other, hormone replacement companies. I mean, there's so much literature out there. That's unfortunate that the medical community, which we are, we've collaborated with a lot of primary care physicians that they admit they don't know hormones. They don't know that women in their, should get testosterone. Like that's Dr. Brzezinski in Naples. She'd been prescribing and is instrumental in our community with that because she put me on hormones and testosterone alone. I was night sweat so bad. The day I got pelleted, I've never had another night sweat. I was soaking wet. I was 37.
Yeah.
And I was tired. We had 3 young boys. I mean, our sex life was, all these things. And, testosterone alone can, cure 85% of the symptoms. So in my opinion, like I wish they would have put you on testosterone too.
I should have taken you up on a pellet when we did that first blood work. When we found the Hashimoto's. And when my testosterone was probably 18 or something like that, which is normal.
Well, I didn't give up. And I don't give up on people because I have so many friends that over the years and they finally have another one 2 years, 7 years later, she finally, did the pellets and she's like, oh my gosh, it's so great. So let's talk about the transition.
Yeah. So I was very hesitant to do the pellets.
Most people are.
And so I started with injections. And I really didn't see much of a difference. My big difference was with the estrogen. And then the progesterone really did help me sleep. And if you still have a uterus and you're on estrogen, you have to be on progesterone. But if you don't have a uterus, you still probably should be on progesterone.
Absolutely. That's a whole.
What was the initial dose of the testosterone you did on a shot?
Do you remember?
Probably I think it was 5 milligrams.
I don't know, because her milligrams per milliliter is different than what mine is, so I don't remember.
Typically, women are like 5 milligrams twice a week.
I started once a week, and then it was switched to twice a week.
So let's talk about your levels. So you were like 11 when we drew it then, like back when. So normal. Let's talk about so labs, when you're looking at labs, they take a cohort. This is how they get the numbers, and each lab's different. They take a cohort of 1,000 people. They test all their labs. So that's what's normal.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't judge age. They don't judge. So normal labs, you know, patients are like, oh, it's 19, it's 9. Mine was 11.
Yeah.
Every doctor would say that's normal because it's within range. And that's what you see on your labs.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. You know, when, you know, different stages of our life, we need different levels. Different people function at higher capacities. I mean, we probably get more things done by 8 o'clock in the morning than a lot of people in the world because we're high functioning. So that's, you know, that's where we look and say on paper, you look fine, but you feel like crap. So, you know, going to a provider that understands these, and yes, we're constantly learning, we're constantly changing, but you know, we look at the patient as well and how you're feeling. So that's very important to know.
Yes.
So testosterone levels can be, you know, when we optimize you 40 to even, you know, right under 300 for women. Men, you know, we see a lot of patients that, you know, are running 200 or 300, you know, and
my first initial one back 7 years ago now was just under 300.
Yeah. And he's a high,
and
high
I'd be 46 years old. So
we optimize, you know, 500 to 1100. It just depends. But the other caveat too to this is young men. We are seeing a lot of young men with testosterone, and women too, but women or men under 200 at 35. I just had one the other day, and you need to empower these patients. I send them out for referral because they can have a pituitary adenoma. It's hypogonadism, but they can have an endocrinology issue or a tumor, and they don't get the proper screening. This gentleman saw 3 physicians that did not refer him for this. It is a red flag. They put him on, you know, injectable testosterone, and they go about their business. First of all, he wants to have kids, so that needs to be in the conversation. So there's just a lot of things, and I do pride myself on staying up with the knowledge and being very thorough, comprehensive with our patients, that we hear it all the time. Well, my doctor didn't do that. I'm not a physician, but I've been doing this a long time and I've trained with a lot of them. And our providers come from urology, you know, internal medicine. They are highly qualified to manage this.
You have a medical background.
Yes, anesthesia.
Yes.
And I dealt with a lot of endocrine surgeries, thyroid surgery. I mean, we were doing, you know, so yes. But these are points when you're going to get, you know, to your primary care doctor. And so we have a lot of them referring now to us for that reason. So, but the guys, testosterone, you know, just want to put it out there that if we're seeing a lot of it. It's from our food, environmental. We don't really know, but you need help, you know?
So, the transition from testosterone injections to pellets for me, I didn't expect to see much of a difference. And the pellet has helped with sleep and focus. And I remember when you first started testosterone, that was one of the things you had said, that you had a focus back. You had a clear head, and that
brain fog's gone.
Yes. And brain fog, I had thought that my brain fog had gotten better with estrogen, and it probably did. But specifically with the pellet,
testosterone only
pellet, because I still have the estrogen patch.
And that's a tool that I listen to patients. She was that's what you wanted to do.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that. And we do modify treatments. You know, because you're very in tune to your body. So you knew your estrogen level, and that we can do that. We don't have to pellet, you know, and do.
Well, we might at some point.
Right.
But I'm hesitant to do an estrogen pellet because I can never go back to estrogen being depletion. Like, that is, from a mental health standpoint,
and from Rob's perspective, you're never coming off of it.
No, but the first night that I had the estrogen patch on, I had finally, my doctor had said, "You're going to sleep the best you have in months." And you read online that it takes a while for it to kick in, but he was right. I fell asleep that night. Rob was scared to come to bed because
I didn't want to touch the bed because she was finally sleeping.
He didn't want to wake me up.
Wow.
He didn't want to go into another room
because if she woke up and I wasn't there, she would be in her panic. So I pulled a pillow off the bed and a blanket and I laid on the floor right next to the bed. So like, yeah.
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 That
You got a good one, Jen.
yes. Yes.
I know.
We're good for each other. I mean, that
Sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, but that is a story I hear, the divorce rate's up, and this is a problem. Women are not there, we're being left behind, and you had patience because some guys would have been out.
I was going to say earlier, I didn't know when to put it in there, but how many people have their marriages fallen apart because of something like this?
Sure.
And they don't even know it.
Sure.
It has to like it has to be a thing.
I went to his original testosterone provider, thinking that they would potentially help me with my hormones. And I had said to them, you shouldn't be treating men without talking to their wives. Not because they need their wives' permission, but when he was optimized and I was at 0, talk about a strain on a relationship. And
it goes vice versa as well.
It
goes vice versa as well, because we have a lot of females that come in here that their husbands don't participate in anything that they do hormone wise, and it could be the same conversation you guys have, just flip flop.
Yeah. So the other symptoms that I had that made me finally ask for my doctor to run the hormone panel that showed the 0 estrogen. I had, all of a sudden I was getting UTIs, or what I assumed were UTIs. I had UTI symptoms. I had never had a UTI previously in my life. Right? I'd never. Well, you would know. I remember walking home from a neighbor's house after being in the pool and knowing that I had to get out of a wet bathing suit quickly. And as I was walking, I could feel this UTI and the symptoms coming on. And I was like, what is going on? I've spent my life in the water. There was frustration because my libido was nothing. And now I've got these UTI symptoms, and I'm sure he's wondering, okay, is this her? I've got a headache tonight. Not tonight, honey.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was in pain. So I had that happening, and thankfully I hadn't had a period in 2 or 3 months. And so I went at first everything had sped up and I was having periods every other week. I think you also at one point thought, there's not a chance she's really having another period. Like, this is I've got a headache, honey.
What's really going on here?
Yes. Everything had sped up, and then all of a sudden, nothing. And so that gave me the confidence to ask for a hormone panel again. And that word, having the confidence to act, is significant, because the reason I didn't have confidence is because I had been told for so long that you're too young. No, this is anxiety or depression, and maybe we need an antidepressant. No, I needed hormones. And had I started hormones 8-10 years earlier, which is, they say that you're in perimenopause for 7 to 10 years. So the exact time when I was first asking was exactly when all of this started. I probably should have been put on progesterone in 2016 when I asked that first local gynecologist, why I felt terrible. I should have listened to you and got on testosterone. And that was probably 2019-ish, I think. Should have been on that. And then my transition likely would have been a little smoother. You may not have had to sleep on the floor.
Well, and back to that, I had an IUD that had estradiol and progesterone in it. had no testosterone.
Uh-huh.
So that's a testimonial to, hey, I had the, like, if you would have had an IUD, then maybe you wouldn't have had that drop in estradiol. And a lot of, GYNs feel like that's the course, but they're missing out on the testosterone component,
Yeah.
So.
Well, and women say, "Oh, I'm on progesterone because they're on birth control." That is not micro-identical progesterone. That is synthetic progesterone, and it actually causes you to stop producing your own progesterone, and so you end up I think I was on birth control for 1 month of my entire life. So that's one of the things that I'm thankful for. But women think that they're being treated because their doctors, they go in for hormone treatment. Their doctor hands them birth control pills at 45 years old.
Right.
And really that's depleting you more. It's masking the symptoms.
And then synthetic blood clot issues that they had. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's, that's a huge point too. But again, people don't realize that they're, and progesterone's the happy hormone. It helps you sleep. It helps your mood.
Yes.
So you love your progesterone.
I do.
Gets her high when she goes to her house. She's like,
well, let's be careful how we say that.
Because it's a happy hormone.
How else do you high for this?
She gets a high five.
It's I do. I had read that if you take the progesterone pill and then you have something fatty, so a spoonful of ice cream or a spoonful of peanut butter, that it helps it absorb. And so
we were going to the ice cream store every day.
So did you add jelly? Did you add jelly to your scoop of peanut butter?
No, not at that time, but it's a good question. So I'll take my progesterone. I'll generally try to take it an hour or so before I want to go to sleep. And I'll have a spoonful of something, even a slice of pizza or something that works as well. And it will, it's like I was going to say 2 glasses of wine. I'll say 2 beers. And I just completely relax. It is, and I call it my progesterone high.
Yeah.
It is my, well, I don't want to say it's my favorite hormone because I feel like estrogen saved my life. But they all have to work together.
Sure.
And that actually is like what works for me and what works for you, and same with you guys, isn't the same for everyone.
Sure.
And that's also, I think, what makes it so hard for the overall medical community, and insurance.
And male doctors, but they don't always understand what we're going through. And, another, back to your whole, vaginal issue.
Oh, yes.
So vaginal dryness is a huge symptom of, you basically get atrophy of that vaginal lining. You lose blood flow. I mean, it's literally doing on a vaginal exam, you can see the whiteness of the tissue. You lose, the vascularity in that. So we have Diva, vaginal rejuvenation. For those of you who know about our laser, I love laser, optimal rejuvenation of that skin. Dr. Coyle did a clinical study on the Diva, and it's erbium laser, same thing as halo for your vagina. And I say FIBB from your face to below your waist. But that treatment we often pair with the hormone replacement because for most of our women.
Yeah.
Yesterday we had a patient, she's doing hormones, halo, she's done contractile, but we also started Diva, and she's seen a huge difference. So it's usually a series of 3. It takes 7 minutes, minimal downtime. You just can't have sexual relations for 3 days, but it leaky lubrication, laxity, and libido. So it helps rejuvenate that tissue. And we had one patient that had extreme dryness, which testosterone does help. So does estrogen. They give estrogen creams vaginally, which does help. But this really helps facilitate, that healing of the tissue. And by the second one, it was a life changer for me.
Sure.
Having 3 kids vaginally and having that vaginal dryness, and women say it hurts.
Yeah.
We had one husband that was in the room while she was getting her second Diva because he was so happy. And, we're asking the patient.
3-day wait is the worst part of it. It's worth the wait.
Yeah, it's worth the wait. But he was like, she's like, I don't know. And he's like, yes, it helps, So, and again, that's different very, symptoms.
3-day
So-
wait? Well, you told me 3 weeks.
Ah,
And people say,
Okay.
women say that they're like 7 days.
7 days.
The paperwork that you give, it says definitely 3 days, but if it hurts,
Sure.
then you wait a little bit longer. And I'm gonna apologize to my staff who might be watching this at some point, and to people who don't want to know this about people, but I'm going to talk about it.
It's important.
Yeah, my parents are going to watch this too. I started posting about hormones on my social media. I recently did an interview with Kelly Burns with NBC2 about hormones, and she had reached out because of my post. I think that it is extremely important that we start talking about this. I wish that women prior to women in my life previously would have talked about it. For the next generation, they need to know that this is what's going to happen, and that there's treatment. So with that caveat, I have had all of the vaginal issues. The UTI being the start of it.
And that's hormone imbalance.
Yes.
Huge symptom.
And I've learned way too much about vaginal tissue and, the difference between the vulva and the vestibule and the actual vagina. I have done the Diva, and it helped, but I actually have even more going on. I've now seen a specialist up in Tampa who has diagnosed me with hypertonic pelvic floor. Any of us who are type A, we likely have a hypertonic pelvic floor. It means that my pelvic floor is unbelievably tight.
Which is the opposite of what we see most of the time from stress incontinence. It's,
yes.
Yeah, pelvic floor issues.
Yes. I also have pudendal neuralgia, which is a nerve issue. And so I'm starting to be treated for that. But some of my symptoms leading up to coming for the laser and then continuing on with seeing more specialists. I also see a local pelvic floor specialist.
Gynecology.
The pelvic floor physical therapist. I see someone locally for that. Emily Kaddish. Awesome. She's who also helped me get in with some specialists up in Tampa. But about 6 months before I had realized my estrogen had dropped out to 0, I was at the brewery. We were working. You were in your office, and we have our facility is a little spread out now. So I was walking across the parking lot to his office, and all of a sudden, I had peed. Full on peed my pants. And I walked in and I was like, we got to go. And he had stuff to do. We had driven together, and we always talk about how we shouldn't drive together.
We never drive together.
That's not true.
Most of
and we had driven together, and he was like, I can't leave. And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? I just peed my pants. And not a dribble, which I haven't given birth vaginally. I haven't given birth at all. So to me, I shouldn't be having these symptoms. That's at least what everyone says.
Right.
And so not a little dribble because I was running or because I coughed or sneezed or full on peed my pants. And I remember texting a couple of my girlfriends, and they were like, you need to go to the doctor right now. So I took my underwear off, threw them away, and went on with the day. That is like, that was that day. And it was like, that was another sign that something was not right. And that was also hormonal, and a lot of the nerve issues and things that, I'm seeing now also are exasperated by hormone depletion.
Right, because you were having nerve tingling. Yeah. There's so many symptoms that you were having. And yes, that's a a rare thing
Yes.
on the rare side, but still it's all
It's all
related.
connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had you ever had a smaller experience of that? Like,
Like out running or coughing
Sure.
or sneezing. Yes. And I remember thinking that I was leaking. And I remember thinking, no, you're crazy. Like, you're not, you're not like and then, yes, I clearly had been like, I can't believe I'm putting all of this out there.
Well, it's okay. Well, this happens. Stress incontinence is huge. I mean, coughing, sneezing, we're doing jump ropes at the gym. Women are doing yoga, Pilates. They wear black pants. I mean, it happens.
Yes.
And so we talked about the Emsella. We have pelvic floor therapy in-house that you sit on, but you actually have that,
I'm the opposite.
too high a tone where most of them don't. And we even have a protocol for men, for ED, for erectile dysfunction that you sit on, and it's 11,000 Kegels, people say. But you can treat our pelvic floor, men and women are the same. So that typically is the treatment for it, and the Kegel treatment that they do for physical therapy too. But that's a 20-minute session that you did. But you actually have the opposite issue.
Yes.
So she's on the men's, getting all that taken care of now. And
yes, I had a nerve block done yesterday. And it's not supposed to be, it's supposed to be diagnostic and not, what's the word I'm looking for?
Not the actual treatment for it, but
not long-term.
It's a differential
treatment.
diagnosis is what they do to see if you get a response.
And I feel great today. TMI, but
never TMI.
It's not.
It's all informational.
Men have this issue too.
Yeah.
So.
And
if it makes you feel any better, I wet my bed when I was a kid.
I think all of us did that as a kid. It's as an adult business owner walking across the parking lot and wondering what is going on. I didn't even feel like I had to go to the bathroom. Like, it's not like I had any urgency. It just was coming out of me.
Well, thanks for sharing your story. It's really, and you have put yourself out there on social media too. And I think at the end of the day, it might feel embarrassing, but it's not, because you're helping so many women that have had this problem. And, it's a conversation, and, your story is really inspiring. I mean, we have
very
so
inspiring
many patients that
both of you guys, and thank you for diving in deep to very personal stuff, right? The relationship side of things, how you're feeling and what you went through.
Yeah.
The four of us, we are doing a panel discussion at Fort Myers Brewing with the Chamber of Commerce, Greater Fort Myers Chamber of Commerce, of which I am the chair this year, with the Women in Business Committee, Hops and Hormones. And it is, while it's the Women in Business Committee that is hosting it, this is open to men and women. And we're going to talk very much like this. Tell our
might
stories.
dive a little deeper into some other things guys-wise as well. So hopefully the guys will come out as well.
With the Dude Den.
With the Dude Den and everything we do, and what Rob does on his testosterone shots versus how I do mine with the pellets, and comparison and timing-wise and all that. We'll dive a little deeper into that maybe on that one.
And that is Wednesday, January 7th, I believe it is. It starts at 4:00. I believe we'll start our panel a little bit after 4, give people some time to get there. There's also going to be a little wellness market with providers like pelvic floor physical therapists and nutritional providers. And Gina Birch is moderating that. And I hope to turn this into a series, maybe a quarterly series, something where, again, we invite men and women out. The four of us talk about what we've been through. And maybe we open it up to more people down the road. But people need to know that this is coming later in life. And it's normal. And there's ways to treat it.
Well, and on top of it, hormones also are direct relationship with your skin. The skin is the biggest organ.
Sure.
And so estrogen, especially the thinning of the skin and all of the things, that we do, to optimize our appearance and, things that you've done, your Botox, you're doing the broadband light treatments, hydrofacials, chemical peels, all the things that you've done in a natural way, and so the hormone side of it is your skin. And, a lot of people are diving into the peptides even, and, really taking care of what they're ingesting. But, at the same time, healthy skin is a direct correlation too with general health. I mean, the appearance. And so that's also a discussion too that we'll dive into. But yeah, well, thank you guys for coming on.
It's been amazing. I appreciate it.